as far as this listener is concerned, we're about to embark on a pointless discussion. VAR is not going anywhere. This is pointless. Stop trying to dramatise the discussion. Really? Really? Well, you know more than us, don't you? Because Premier League clubs will have an opportunity to end VAR this summer. The big question is, should they take it? Premier League clubs are to hold a vote at next month's AGM to scrap VAR from next season's. Who's leading the way? Wolves are leading the way. They have formally put forward a resolution to the Premier League for a league-wide vote to start the 2024-25 campaign without VAR. What do they need? They need 14 votes in favour to see it through. So is VAR here to stay, or are they going to get rid of it for next season? From next season onwards, is it going to be no longer with us? Now, we've had many a debate on this show, Simon, have we not? And the major protagonists have always been involved each and every time we talk about it. Howard Webb, the man at the top of the PGMOL, the kind of mastermind, if you like, of the continuity of VAR, joined us in studio and spoke about VAR and its journey.
It would be wrong of me to sit here and say that everything's been perfect this year. Of course not. We've made some errors. We're asking human beings to sit in the VAR hub at Stockley Park and make a judgment on whether something is clearly wrong. You know, also recognising when there's subjectivity in the decision, not re-refereeing the game. We don't want that. And sometimes that judgment is not made accurately.
Yeah.
And then obviously our job is to reduce that variability on that judgment to make sure that what we've said will happen, i.e. VAR will step in when something's clearly wrong, happens as often as possible in a world where, you know, humans will make judgments under pressure, under a time pressure as well, trying to apply a process. VARing is not just like watching TV at home. You know, there's a process of diligence we have to go through to make sure we don't miss something. We're training the officials all the time through that process, through those judgments being consistent, and we've had some that are wrong. But you know, we've almost rectified 100 errors in the right way this season as well. So the positives outweigh the negatives.
The positives outweigh the negatives, according to Howard. Thereafter, with the Premier League Chief Football Officer here in studio, and he sat with Simon and myself. This was Tony Scholes, and he spoke about VAR and how they view it.
I think we're on a journey on this, and to be honest, we've moved quickly on this journey over the last few years. VAR, of course, has only been here for 5 years. When it was introduced, I think it was introduced under this misconception that it would make the world perfect. No new technology is ever going to do that. We're on a journey, and I think the ultimate destination is full transparency, full openness, everyone in the stadium getting to see the video, getting to hear the audio as well. So we at the Premier League would like that journey to be shortened, for that to come sooner rather than later.
So that was Tony Scholes, Simon. Now,
well, do it then.
Here are the facts of it. Before VAR was introduced, 82% decisions on the pitch were correct.
Yeah.
Since it's been introduced with VAR, 96% of the decisions were correct.
Yeah.
In spite of that, Wolves aren't having it. Wolves say our position is that the price we are paying for a small increase in accuracy is at odds with the spirit of our game. And as a result, we should remove it, VAR, from the 2024-2025 season onwards. So even although it's getting much more right than wrong, many more decisions right than wrong, Wolves are saying, enough, scrap it. Is this going to be a thing of the past next season?
I doubt it. I mean, all of the major leagues in Europe have VAR. They're not going to be standing VAR down. I very much doubt that we are. We are often an outlier that runs VAR in a different way. We didn't take the monitor from the outset, which we should have done. So what do you want it to revert to then? By the way, I do agree with some of the things that Wolves are saying. The spontaneity and the delay and the lack of transparency clearly are things that need to be attended to. I didn't at the beginning think that the transparency was a big issue, but the more I've watched live games in the Premier League, the more I've begun to realise that actually it's preposterous that the fans inside the stadium can't see replays until after the decision has been made. You can see it, but you can't see it while it's being done. I think it's silly. It's silly.
But so Tony Scholes is saying it's a journey. We will get to that.
We'll get there quicker. Don't be so bloody silly. Get there quicker. The technology is available for you to broadcast it. Broadcast it. Don't be silly. Get on with it. And do it properly. But what is it you want to go back to? Why did we get here? So what are Wolves advocating for? Are they advocating for 1 in every 5 decisions to be wrong? No, they're advocating for better refereeing standards. We can all concur with the fact that even at 80% of decisions, you'd like to think that the on-field decisions are better. Why did we arrive here? What is it that we've arrived at? We tried to arrive here because the football fraternity refused to accept that the efficiency on the field and the amount of outcomes that they wanted weren't manifesting themselves. So now they've got the outcomes. They've still got human error because somebody somewhere sent stupid people memos suggesting that they were going to get 100% of all decisions right. And so the characterisation has landed in the public psyche that VAR gets nothing wrong. It's just a stupid, reductive conversation. Has it killed spontaneity? Yes. Does that need to be fixed? Can it be fixed? Absolutely it can. Do we need to make sure that we up our refereeing efficiency?
Incidentally, how do you fix that?
Digital technology. You should use artificial intelligence. You should be using sensors in balls. You should be using sensors in shirts. Automated offside should be introduced. Are they going to be introduced? Oh, by the way, they are going to be introduced. So we're evolving all of the time. Again, what do you want to go back to? Do you want to go back to managers and players complaining about on-field decisions, or do you want to stay with managers and players complaining about on-field and off-field decisions, irrespective of a 15% increase in better outcomes? What have you got to fix? So if we take away the transparency of the fact that the fans inside the stadium can't see, and if we can we can re-establish some of the spontaneity, say around offside decisions by having sensors that give you instantaneous outcomes, what now do you need to fix now? Oh, the basic principle of the fact that everything should be 100% right. You're fools. It's low-level thinking. It's poor thinking from football operators. Wolves are putting their position down, and it will create a debate about the pressure moving back onto the officials about how poor their performance is.
So are Wolves wrong to do this?
No, I think it's absolutely right to have this discussion. This is what happens.
But I thought you weren't having VAR.
No, what do you mean not having VAR? I've always had VAR. I've always accepted the principle of it and always like to embrace change, but they've got to do it better. Here's the beauty of the Premier League. When all these guys sit there bitching and whining about the rules around FFP and do nothing to change it, this is what you do when you want to change something. You propose an agenda and you see if you can bring forward a democracy.
There you go.
So you've got 6 football clubs. Have we got any of the serious players in the Premier League going to vote for this? Do you actually think Liverpool and Arsenal and all of these guys are going to vote for VAR? No, they're not, because they play in Europe. Right, so they're not going to. So they need one more. One more person that's likely to be going into Europe, because this big 6 is very fluid now, to vote against it, end of discussion, move on. But what it does do is it lays down a marker for certain things. You build upon precedents. We've put in a vote of no confidence as a football club in VAR. And if we can get 7 or 8 votes, maybe we can build that to 9 and 10. And we start sending messages to the PGMOL and to IFAB about what this is doing to our sport.
But hang on, why does playing in Europe come into this? If you don't want it domestically, presumably you don't want it in Europe either.
You're going to have it to be in Europe.
You're going to have it, and it's going to stay in Europe.
Yeah.
But, I mean, the two are not related.
Well, they are, because if
here
you're
domestically, what they are suggesting is very soon Wolves led, you've got an option to get rid of it.
But that's fine. But you need 14 votes. All right. So all you've got to do is have 7 abstainers, or 7 people that don't vote in favour, of which 6 of them play in Europe and want to be able to deal with VAR on a daily basis to be able to make sure they're fit for purpose when they play in European competitions.
But do you not think the Wolves intel suggests that they think they'll get close to the 14 votes?
I think you give football clubs far too much credit for what their intel is. And what tends to happen, I can assure you, in Football League meetings or in Premier League meetings, is a group of people will say to you, we're all behind you, we're behind you. Oh, good point. You go and put that point forward. And then you stand up and make that point. You look down and everyone's sat down. I thought you was all with me. How does that work then? Because what you get is people that are not as brave as they'd like to be in private as they often are or should be in public.
Yeah.
No, I don't think that VAR is going to be booted out. Neither do I think it should be. What it should be done is made to improve. And it's all well and good to get little bureaucratic guys like Tony Scholes in here who made their life out of administrations behind football clubs. You can't sit in a studio and say that we need to take time to evolve. Be better. Get it done faster. It's not about how things work in life. It's really, really simple in business and life. You know how things are going to work. Don't worry about that. How does something break? Let me focus on the things that are breaking rather than the things that are successes. And we know that spontaneity and transparency are the 2 things that will infect and affect the public's relationship with the game. So focus on bloody fixing those. And the football managers and the players that moan and whine about decisions will continue to do that until they drop off the face of the earth.
But Simon, the key is, has it improved the ratio of right decision making. And it has. You say be better and get there quicker.
But at what cost?
No, get it right.
But the argument is, and it's an argument they're entitled to have, at what cost? Has the journey been worth the outcome?
Well, I mean,
because
these
these guys
say the impact in goal celebrations and the spontaneous passion that makes football special. Yes, sure, but it was never going to be. That's a decision.
But half a decade, come on. And you look at it and say, well, that's not borne out by viewing figures. It's not borne out by subscriptions. It's not borne out by attendances in games. So that's an emotive, subjective vantage point. But it isn't, by the way, it isn't wrong. They are right. So the cause and effect, what would you rather have? These ludicrous football managers screaming and crying about every decision they get wrong because the on-field referee gets it wrong, or them screaming about 15% less decisions being gotten wrong through VAR. What would you rather have football?
But it still happens. We've replaced that with club statements.
Because we've empowered people to think in a certain way. No one recognises authority. No one accepts things in life.
One thing that made me laugh, Simon, Wolves tell us it's created a more hostile atmosphere with protests and booing of the Premier League anthem. Who cares about the Premier League anthem? Do you think Wolves do? Do you think there's any fan out there who thinks, shh, better not boo the Premier League anthem?
But this is Wolverhampton Wanderers' point of view. So they're going to advance their best case. They feel suitably aggrieved. I'm assuming that Marinakis and his gang will come in behind them and feel suitably aggrieved about it. And then when you've got rid of VAR, if we live in this ridiculous Narnia land that is going to happen, they'll feel suitably aggrieved about on-field decisions because they'll then look for some other reason why an outcome hasn't gone their way. Rather than just accept, tragically in life, human error happens.
Exactly. Should fans be involved in this? This is going to be left to chief execs of clubs. Should fans be involved?
Should they be involved? Well, I'm sure they'll try to get the independent regulators to do it for them.
I mean, you're telling me that they're the ones who are inconvenienced most.
Well, the way that I don't think they're inconvenienced. I don't think it adds to the value of the game. I sat the other day at the Tottenham game and watched the fact that there was a goal being considered, and I sat there for 2 minutes and I thought to myself, this isn't right. This is not right.
But did they come to the right decision?
No doubt. But there you
go.
But Jim, the value of the game, the spontaneity, we've got this remarkable product that engenders emotion. That 17-year-old boys are brought up as heroes, kids that can't barely string a sentence together, put a microphone under their voice, and all of a sudden they're saying something of meaning. And grown men are paying fortunes to go and watch football games because of emotion. You start killing that emotion. You start making it about accountants and tech.
Right.
All of a sudden, you take away the energy. This game is a remarkable game. It's one of the few things in the world that unites people. You know, you can go around anywhere in the world and talk to anybody, and they can talk to you about football. Why would you want to kill it by introducing a regulator to govern it financially?
So
and why would you want to kill it by making tech make it worse?
It will stay. You're saying it will stay, but it's got to be better, and they've got to get to the decision quicker.
Of course they have.
All right.
And there's no excuse for it. And I don't think it's admirable for people like Tony Scholes to sit in the studio and say, well, it takes time. 5 years, half a decade is a long enough time to get things a bit better.
Okay, bear in mind, before this vote happens, before VAR was introduced, 82% of the decisions were correct. With VAR, 96% are correct. Just before you call in or before you send in a message, bear that in mind. It gets a heck of a lot more right than wrong. Simon would say, get there quicker. Yeah, I'd agree with that. And make the process better. Yes, I'd agree with that. But it's evolving. So instead of scrapping it, do they not need to work on it? Premier League clubs will have an opportunity to end VAR this summer should they take it. It's quite simple. Simon, is it your belief that the priority here is to keep it, fix it, to make it almost seamless?
Yes. And that's the question that needs to be asked. Are we in a position where the involvement of VAR and the technology behind it can bring it to a point where what we had once before in terms of spontaneity and quickness of decision can be replicated via VAR? If the answer to that is yes, the next question, which I think it would be for my fab, the next question is when? How much longer have we got to endure the criticism that's creating the narrative? Because if the narrative is we wanted better decisions, well, you've won that battle. You've got 96% of the decisions right.
Yeah.
Now the different narrative is that it attacks the fabric of the game. It excludes the fans from parts of the game that they shouldn't be excluded from. And it also takes too long to get to those points. If those are your two central themes, there's two tenets and the two planks of your argument, then fix them.
Simple as.
Well, it's very...
Lucas Brood of IFAB said it's going to be well nigh a decade before it's seamless.
Well... Again, did he say that? He said that ultimately we're going through several generations of technology and that it's not going away.
Yeah.
And that it will take a period of time for it to get to the point where it's ultimately where it needs to be. We've got to ask ourselves, what did football want? Why is it here? The fans may be resisting it and going, this is not the spectacle. But the football fraternity, they wanted a better set of outcomes.
Exactly.
They've got a better set of outcomes, but the consequence of it is something's been lost along the way.
The football fraternity wanted it, they've got it. And bear in mind, before any of you come to air, before VAR was introduced, 82% of the decisions were correct. With VAR, it shot right up. 96% of the decisions are correct. Carl's a big Fulham fan. Carl, good morning. What do you want to say in this? Are you having it, or do you think Wolves are right? Scrap it.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Morning, Carl.
Good morning. My thoughts are that Wolves are obviously trying to kind of build some momentum, get some support for getting rid of VAR. I kind of think my perspective is that you have referees, and without referees, you don't have games. And them having, it's kind of a role that is very essential. It's very important. And I think with VAR, if you get rid of it, obviously the responsibility is on the ref. But then, do we see this kind of mentality of players and managers where they remonstrate against the referee, and it's kind of, it's viewed on a world, on a world basis. People being able to view it.
Are you with Simon, Carl? Briefly, look, work on it, make it better, make it quicker.
If we have VAR, put it this way, if we don't have VAR, people will be remonstrating and saying that the referees are rubbish, or there'll be, there'll be arguments, etc.
Yeah. So you can't win, really, Carl. Yeah.
Well, I just think that there needs to be a lot more respect for the decision making. I mean,
I'm with you on that, Carl. A lot more respect for the decision making process. Here's Ryan, who's a big Chelsea fan. Ryan, you having it, or are you with Wolves? Time to scrap it.
Morning, guys. Yeah, I'm a bit disillusioned with the whole thing. I haven't made my mind up fully whether it's a good thing to keep it or not. I think I'm getting a bit tired of hearing that the reason for people not wanting it is they want more transparency and clarity, because I don't think that's it at all. I think we want consistency, mainly. Week in, week out, I see things in different games which are given in, yellow cards, red cards, or handball. We don't seem to have any clarity of what the actual rules are. So
but Ryan, there is a habit, is there not, to highlight the decisions, the few decisions that they get wrong, and to not mention the many they get right.
Yeah, so with that, I mean, who's gauging this 96% of decisions right? What's that based on? Because if you're basing it on, for instance, offside, I mean, the technology can't determine when the ball leaves the foot to the exact pixel on the camera, as well as the player being offside. So how do we know those are right?
These are official figures, Ryan, from the Premier League. So they wouldn't put them out in the public domain if they were wrong, mate.
Yeah, but I still don't know what they'd be based off of. I mean, my main point is the consistency. I found it easier to accept a personal. I found it easy to accept when something is wrong, when it's a referee, two linos, and possibly a fourth official. But when you've got two linos, a ref, a fourth official, and three guys sitting in Stockley Park, it's harder to take when they get something wrong.
But did you really, Ryan? Did you really? When you're sat there suggesting to me that you were happy to accept the on-field decisions, then you would be an outlier, because the football fraternity, the fans themselves, the referees were getting death threats. People were screaming at what referees' performances were. I don't think you were happy with referees making decisions, but what you've now got is another spectre. But basically, it was on-field decisions. You guys are crap, don't do your job very well. Now you move it on to the next set of guys, which is VAR, lack of consistency. And when someone gives you statistics, whether you like those statistics or not, there has been an improvement. Whether it's 96%, let's say it's 92% or 91%, there is clearly, evidentially, an improvement in decisions being made. So I don't understand the logic of saying, well, I was happy with what it was before, because you probably weren't.
Well, in all fairness, no, I agree with you. I didn't say I originally felt that way. I'm saying now looking at it, now we're looking at a situation where there's 5, 6 guys all conspiring to make a decision, whereas before we had one referee, two linos. Now looking at it,
But what difference does that make? I mean, are you being offended for offended's sake? I mean, wouldn't you be more offended by the time it takes to get there and the lack of spontaneity? If you're more offended by it's taking 5 people to get to a decision, so you've got 5 people to blame rather than 1, isn't that moderately incidental?
Well, I don't know. I mean, 5, 6 minds put together and still getting a decision wrong is hard to take.
Getting more decisions right than wrong is the goal, though,
more
isn't
right
it?
than wrong.
Yeah, more right than wrong, Ryan. Are we really talking about a situation, Simon, if this was to be voted out, that after Germany and all the technology that we'll see at the Euros, we come back to the Premier League and there ain't anything? It would be laughable, surely, wouldn't it? I mean, a referee, 2 liners and a 4th official.
It won't happen. And if it does happen, we'll just move ourselves into a situation where people will, again, be laughing at us. They're laughing at us because we've decided to be the only league in world football to have an independent regulator, which is beyond my comprehension. And now they'll laugh at us because we'll be the only league that decides that we can't evolve technology to such a point that we can actually be competent in what we're doing. Look, it is all to do with this characterisation, Jim. People have somehow got in their minds that VAR should give you 100% outcomes, and they've forgotten what they were crying about before, about how refereeing decisions. The big question is are the referees operating at a high enough standard?
Right,
and that's a debate.
Right. And where you have sympathy with Wolves is when they say frustration and confusion inside stadiums because of lengthy VAR checks and poor communication. But my contention, Simon, is if it leads to the right decision...
Yeah, but you can't... Yeah, absolutely. I do understand that if you've got a better outcome, but you've got to do it in a way that is conducive to the actual spirit of the game. What are we doing?
Yeah.
What are we doing to football right now? We're getting people make rules up so that clubs can have points taken away and be sanctioned, and that the accountants and lawyers, and we can listen to people sit in studios telling us about the next set of financial fair play obligations upon a football club. What are we doing there? Why are we doing that? And what are we doing with technology? Why are we telling people that actually they can watch a game but they can't watch it because they've got to wait someone to make 3 minutes to make a decision? And why aren't the fans involved? We say in COVID the most important thing was the fans. With respect to getting the balance right between fans having a sense of entitlement and fans being the heartbeat and the lifeblood of a game, get the bleeding balance right, for Christ's sake.
Lee, West Ham fan, the fact that we're even debating this 5 years in shows it hasn't worked. Richard's a big Liverpool fan. Richard, where are you at with it?
I feel that we should stick with the automated offsides rather than what we've got at the moment. What we see at the World Cup and the Champions League is on a totally different level to what we see in the Premier League. I would stick with the goal line technology, but I would extend it along the whole of the goal line to eliminate the problems that we have with the Newcastle-Arsenal game. I would take out all human interaction because we don't live in a 100% perfect world and everybody views things differently.
Yeah.
At Stockley Park, I would have, out of the 3 people, I would have the VAR, I would have an ex-player or an ex-coach, and I would give that a year to see how that goes. But the automated offsides are a must because the Coventry goal, for me, it was onside.
Simon, you've been nodding to what Richard's saying for the most part.
Because it's common sense, which is something that seems to escape so many people when they talk about this subject.
Yeah.
I mean, they are bringing in semi-automated offside next season, so they're there.
Yeah.
So it will be, and everything that he said, if you're going to be, I've always felt that they've got it the wrong way around. I've always felt that the referee should referee on the pitch and call for technology when he wanted it. And if he didn't call for technology, then he wasn't using the facilities around him and he shouldn't be refereeing football matches. So I've always felt that. All of a sudden, the technology is overtaken, whereas it should be a referee's on the field, he's refereeing, and he goes, right, I'm not sure, bang, technology. And have that opportunity to have the fullback position that people have suggested they didn't have back in the day. But it's gone the other way. So if we've gone the other way now, we've made tech the precedent and the primary thing, then wrap it around the game. Do goal line technology across the byline. So there's no debate. Why not?
Yeah.
Take it away from people. Then you haven't got that debate anymore, have you? It's not a debate. The debate is someone's unhappy about something else.
Okay, we know that the vote will be held fairly soon, next month's AGM, to scrap VAR from next season. The thing is it going to happen? Is it going to end, or do we continue? And if we continue, how do we make it better? Lewis, Chelsea fan, take me to the 11:15 break. What's your thought of it, mate?
Hi, good morning, gents. Great show as always.
Thanks, Lewis. Where are you at with this then?
Yeah, so I, prior to the game last night, I was saying to my friends that can we just do it, but just do it better. just because I was watching Chelsea last night and we saw the good, the bad and the ugly of VAR yesterday. I don't know if anyone's had a chance to see it, but Tariq Lamptey should have been sent off for violent conduct. He threw his shoulder into Mudryk and then he had to go off with a concussion. And then Reece James was sent off for kicking out, rightfully sent off, might I add, for kicking out at João Pedro. But that just shows the inconsistency of VAR. One was a straight red, the other one wasn't. But in reality, they both should have been straight red cards.
Okay. Lewis, thank you for that. Simon, I think by and large, I'm looking at many messages coming in just while Lewis was talking to us there. Make it better, make it quicker.
Yeah.
If they can achieve that, then yes, we'll all join hands and go with it. But if they continue to deliberate for minutes on end, and that creates an atmosphere within the stadium, then I totally take your point.
What is at the centre of sports? Entertainment.
Spontaneity.
Entertainment.
Right.
Is it entertaining for football fans to sit in a football stadium for 3 minutes waiting to understand whether a goal's been scored? The answer is no. So fix it.
I've got to say to you, before we ask for calls and messages, and we're getting many, many, many of them, I thought the vast majority would be, I'm with Wolves, scrap it, but they're not.
No, because people understand the reality of the fact that there is a benefit for having it, but the benefit that they've got this moment in time needs to be finessed. It needs to be more of a benefit than a cause and effect. And the value needs to be, the balance needs to be got. Okay, we're getting better decisions. We can accept that because we're not stupid, we're not tribalistic, we are able to see other people's point of view.
Yeah.
But we don't like this. So can you fix this? If you can fix that, then everyone's going to be moderately happy.
Yeah. So Wolves have formally put forward the resolution to the Premier League for a league-wide vote to have it scrapped from next season. And they'll have the vote. The big question is, are Wolves going to be left on their own in this one? We'll see.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.